All right, old school NBA fans, self-research, NBA facts, got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. This video here is going to be kind of a special one. I said I wasn't going to do any more direct comparisons of Michael Jordan and LeBron James, but I had a discussion with someone recently, and it goes to the quality of teammate thing. People are elevating Michael Jordan's teammates and they try to diminish LeBron's teammates, which I just think it's ludicrous, just to try to prove, that your guy or whatever is better. You're going to diminish players or pump up other players. You have to diminish the competition. You have to pump up the teammates. I mean, let's just call it what it is, okay? Horace Grant was maybe an underrated player. He was very important to the Bulls' success, in the early 90s. No doubt about it. In fact, he was second in win shares many times. I think maybe in all three of the three-peat years. He was invaluable, rebounder, defender. He was important. It was a good role, no doubt. Now, Scottie Pippen was another player that was, very important, no doubt, especially defensively. He was that second scorer, no question. Great player, top 75, he deserves it, all that. But let's not get crazy. When people say that he's the best Robin ever, I mean, what are you talking about? I mean, besides, you got Dwayne Wade on Miami, clearly better than Pippen. You have Steph Curry or Kevin Durant, either one on Golden State, take your pick. You got Oscar Robertson to Kareem, clearly. You have Bob Cousy to Bill Russell. You have Jerry West to Wilt Chamberlain, or Wilt to Jerry West, however you want to look at that one. There's so many. Kareem to Magic. There's just a bunch of them. I would even say Kevin McHale with Larry Bird. Even at the time in the 90s, Penny Hardaway might have been as good, if not even a hair better than Pippen, probably on the same level. I mean, he was first team All-NBA 2 years in a row in 95, 96, clearly the best point guard in the league at that time. And he was finished third in MVP one year. He was top 10 2 years in a row. But anyway, so I've done other videos about the teammate thing and all that. So what I'm looking at here this time is how can I really get a good idea of, when teammates picked up their slack. And what I came up with is, so I've done videos before about and touched on Michael Jordan in the 93 Eastern Conference Finals. They were down 0-2, and in Game 3, Jordan shot horribly. He was 3 for 18 from the field. If you go back and watch the game, Starks guards Jordan really tight, and then if he puts the ball on the floor, the double comes immediately. If Jordan goes in the paint, there might be 3 or 4 guys around him. They made a concerted effort. Jordan is not going to score in the paint. Okay, fair enough. But his game score was over 20 because he was 16 for 17 from the line. He had 11 assists. He had 8 or 9 rebounds. He only had 2 turnovers. He shut down Starks and Rivers in the backcourt. They couldn't get going at all. I think they might have had 12 or 14 points combined. All those things add up to Jordan actually had a really good game. He just didn't shoot the ball well from the field. So I wouldn't make too much about that game. But what I came up with is when the opposing team guard had a higher game score than Michael Jordan did. Now that could be either guard. I comparing it to LeBron James. He gets all the media attention right now. Everybody's making such a big deal about these triple doubles that he got. Oh, at his advanced age and Okay, well, so what I looked at is for LeBron is the other team's forwards. How did they do when they outgame-scored LeBron James? How did the team do in spite of that? Okay, so I'll give some examples. The very first one was LeBron James's second game ever. LeBron's game score was 6.7. Well, Anton Jamison had one of 13.8. The other forward, Caron Butler, was 14.8. So both of them, more than double what he had. In the same year, 06, against the Pistons in Game 1, Tayshaun Prince got a 17.2 to LeBron's 12.2. So I'm not going to point out every one, But I'll just say that the players that were doing it, it wasn't just Kawhi Leonard and Kevin Durant and, players, Paul Pierce. No, it was like Anton Jameson, Tayshaun Prince, Rasheed Wallace, Richard Jefferson. Rasheed Wallace actually did it 3 times. Anton Jameson did it 4 times. Paul Pierce did it 4 times as well. Other guys like Paul George, Tim Duncan, of course, all that. Well, if just looking at like the real big disparity ones, 2007 finals, game 1, Tim Duncan's game score was 25.0. LeBron was 5.0. So you can see right there who had the better game. 2008 Eastern Conference semifinals, game 1. Kevin Garnett had a 23.3. LeBron was negative 0.7. That's pretty big disparity. The very next game, Paul Pierce goes for 17.4. LeBron 6.8. In 2011 Eastern Conference semifinals, game 3, Paul Pierce goes for 22.6 to LeBron's 10.6. 2011 finals, there was, games 2, 3, 4, and 5 was either Dirk or Sean Marion. The biggest one was in game 3 where Dirk went for 27.8, LeBron only 13.6. 2012 first round game 4, Carmelo 29.3, LeBron 13.9. 2014 Paul George, this is the biggest one. I don't even remember this game. I mean, I know it happened, but 2014 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 5, Paul George, 28.8, and LeBron, negative 0.1. Wow, Paul George really put it on him on that game. They did guard each other. I mean, and that's the thing. Not always did the player guard the other one, just because a player had a good game, whatever. But, it didn't happen that often, considering. Another one, Draymond Green in the 2016 Finals, Game 7, the one that Cleveland won, came back 3-1, right? Draymond Green was at 35.9, LeBron 23.1. So Draymond Green had a great game, one of his best actually, probably best Finals game in his career. And then here's a random one, 2017 Eastern Conference Finals. I guess that was against Boston. Jay Crowder, 13.9. LeBron, 3.6. 2018 Eastern Conference Finals. Jaylen Brown, 17.8 to LeBron, 7.8. And then you got Kevin Durant in the 2018 Finals, Game 3, 39.6 to LeBron's 28.7. And the last one, a very big discrepancy here, 2020 Finals, Game 3, Jimmy Butler, who was playing small forward, 42.0. LeBron only 17.8. But the biggest discrepancy was Paul George in that 2014 Finals Game 5, Eastern Conference Finals Game 5. 28.8 to negative 0.1. Crazy. But all told, of LeBron's 287 playoff games, 54 times the opposing team outgame-scored LeBron. Now, look, it isn't LeBron's fault necessarily because he's not going to be guarding all these guys. Like, he probably didn't guard Duncan and Kevin Garnett that much, but they were forwards technically. Just like when I get into the one for Jordan, the point guards, Jordan didn't guard them all the time. But anyway, he did get out-game-scored. So, out of his 287 playoff games, 54 of them, he got out-game-scored by the opposing team's forward. So that's actually pretty good. That's only 18.8% of the time. That's really good. But here's the thing. In those games, when he got out-game-scored, of the 54 games he got out-game-scored, his team won 15 of them. So it may not sound like a good record of 15-39. That's a winning percentage of 0.278. Okay? So that's where we're at with that. Now let's look at Jordan. Okay. Jordan, I'll just point out the ones that had, the big discrepancy of double digits or more. The first one was, believe it or not, Mark Jackson on the Knicks. Now, he's a point guard. Jordan probably didn't guard him directly, but still did the same thing with LeBron. Mark Jackson puts up a 25.8 game score. Jordan only an 8.4. That's a big discrepancy. The next one was Mark Price. He had a 23.1 to Jordan's 12.8. Again, that's a point guard, but still. The next time it happened was in 95, Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Nick Anderson got 14.6 to Jordan's 2.6. That was that pretty famous game where Nick Anderson said 45 ain't 23, and Jordan wore 45. And then the next game he comes out with wearing 23, that exact jersey basically. And, he put it on Orlando, and I know Horace Grant was like, man, what do you got to do that for? But, Orlando did win the series. They beat them. No problem. Fair and square. Okay, in 96 Eastern Conference Finals, Penny Hardaway, I was just talking about, 30.1 to Jordan's 15.8. And then the next and last time it happened was John Stockton in the 97 Finals, Game 4. He got a 22.2 game score, and Jordan only a 7.7. So, according to this, you got the Mark Jackson game. You have the Mark Price game. You have the Nick Anderson game. The Penny Hardaway game. You have the John Stockton game. There was also a Tim Hardaway game in the 97 Eastern Conference Finals. I didn't put a star on it. Anyway, Tim Hardaway went for 21 to Jordan's 10.2. But pretty much all of these big discrepancies was a point guard, except for Nick Anderson. But still, it was a guard. I did the same thing with LeBron. So, how many times was Jordan out-game-scored, I guess you can say, by the opposing team's guard? It happened 33 times out of 179 playoff games. So that's very close to LeBron, actually 18.43% of the time to LeBron's 18.8% of the time. So almost the same. But again, a lot of this, you can't really hold it against anybody because you're not going to be guarding the point guard all the time. You'll be, on the sideline. Maybe they go on a run or something. Maybe you're supposed to guard the other guy. You can't really put a correlation to the two. But this is where the correlation really comes in. So, like I said about LeBron's team was 15-39 in games that he was outgame-scored by the opposing team's forward. They were 15-39 with a winning percentage of .278, so 27.8% of the time they're winning, despite LeBron, having the other team's forward have a big game. In Jordan's case, in the 33 games that he was outgame-scored by the opposing team's guard, either one of them, they were 6-27. That's a winning percentage of 18.2%, which means they're winning less than 2/3 as many games when Jordan gets outgame-scored by the opposing team's guards. So what it all boils down to is when Jordan wasn't out dueling, the other team's players, the guards, they were losing. They were losing 82% of the time. That's more than 4 out of every 5 games. Where LeBron, it's 27.8% of the time, which, that's over a quarter of the time. So as you can see, definitely Michael Jordan did not have the supporting cast that was going to be able to pick up his slack when he wasn't, having these monster games. Or even if he had a monster game, the opposing team's guard had a monster game better than Jordan's overall with the game score. So what it came down to was then, how did the forwards and the center do for Jordan? Or the other guard on his team, all those guys. Or in LeBron's case, how did the guards and the other forward and the center do. That's what it all comes down to here. And as you can see, it's a pretty big difference. 2/3 of the time, Jordan's team was, they were losing 18.2% to 27.8%. That's a big discrepancy. That's 2/3 of the number of the games that LeBron's team was winning, despite him getting out game scored by the other team's forwards. To me, that matters a lot. That's a big deal. I didn't know how else really do. You can't go by any one stat, like, oh, he shot better, or he got more assists or more rebounds. No, you got to look at the whole thing. And game score is the best indicator. I'm not a huge metric guy, but on this one, I got on board when I read more about it. It's almost like fantasy league, fantasy football, fantasy basketball, whatever. It's kind of like that. It really is. So it gives you a good idea of, who had really good games and whatnot. And, it was pretty obvious. Oh, I did miss one. No, I didn't. Never mind. I was going to say the last one LeBron got out game scored was last year, Game 3 against Aaron Gordon, 28.4% of the time. So that's how that is. So anyway, that's how it is. That's how we're rolling with it, and that's it. I think that this, to me, is definitive proof, because this isn't about scoring. It's not about all defenses or all NBAs or all-star appearances. This is game score. So when Jordan was getting outdone by the other team's guards, and it did happen, less than once every 5 games, and he may not have guarded the guy directly, but either way, it doesn't matter. So when Jordan was getting out game scored by the other team's guard, did his team step up and help him win? Only 18% of the time. And LeBron was almost 28% of the time. That's a pretty big difference in my mind. So that's about a difference of 1 out of every 10 games. Yes, his team was winning more. Wasn't a huge amount, but an amount nonetheless. So anyway, that's all I got for this video. If you guys liked it, please hit the like button. I like doing these kind of deep dives like this, and it takes a lot of time, believe it or not, to come up with this stuff. But anyway, just hope everybody gets something out of it, some kind of, gain knowledge, enjoyment, all that kind of thing. So that's why I make them. So anyway, that's all I got for this video, and thanks for watching. Until next time.